February 2nd, 2020. 2:00 p.m. It is a deceptively normal Sunday afternoon on Streatham High Road, one of London's most bustling arteries. Families are rushing to finish their weekend errands, couples are debating where to grab lunch, and the winter sun is casting long, sharp shadows across the pavement. Amidst this ordinary chaos, a man walks calmly into a discount shop. He does not look around nervously. He moves with the terrifying precision of someone who has rehearsed this moment in his mind 1,000 times. He walks to a display, grabs a knife, and runs. Within the next 62 seconds, the fabric of this ordinary Sunday is torn apart. 2 innocent people are left bleeding on the pavement, their lives irrevocably altered. Within 90 minutes, the attacker himself is dead, his body lying amidst shattered glass and police tape. But this is not just another tragic headline about a lone wolf attack. What distinguishes this event from every other terror incident you have seen on the news is a chilling detail that sounds almost like fiction. Armed police did not just respond to this 911 call. They were already there. They were the shadow in the doorway, the pedestrian lingering too long at the crossing, the unmarked car idling by the curb. They watched him enter the shop. They watched him grab the knife. Every step, every breath, every split-second decision, they saw it all. Because the attacker, a young man named Sudesh Amman, did not know that for 10 straight days he had been the center of a massive invisible net tightening around him, woven by Britain's most elite counter-terror units. This is the story of a paradox, a terrorist who was arguably the most watched man in Britain, yet still managed to unleash hell. It is the story of a legal system that knew a monster was coming, but had tied its own hands, forced to release him into the very community he vowed to destroy. Before we analyze the systemic failure that allowed those 62 seconds of terror to happen, if you are interested in the dark intersection of criminal psychology and legal loopholes, you are in the right place. Please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This story is just the beginning of understanding how a convicted terrorist walked free, straight into the crosshairs of watching eyes that legally could not pull the trigger until the blood had already been spilled. To understand the end, we must go back to the beginning. We need to understand not just the man but the digital footprint he left behind, a trail of breadcrumbs that led straight into the darkest corners of the internet. This was not a sudden snap of sanity, it was a slow burn that began years prior, hidden behind the glowing screen of a smartphone. Now, let us rewind the clock to where this trajectory towards violence first became visible. It is April 2018, and we find ourselves not in London, but in a quiet room somewhere in the Netherlands. A blogger sits illuminated by the glow of his computer screen, scrolling through the digital underbelly of the web, the dark corners that most of us will never see, and likely could not stomach if we did. His name is Azul Vandenberg, and he is hunting. Vandenberg is not a police officer. He is not an intelligence agent working for a government bureau. He is an independent extremism monitor. A digital vigilante of sorts, who has devoted his life to tracking terrorist networks that fester in encrypted Telegram chat rooms. These digital spaces act as echo chambers, amplifying hate and validating violent fantasies, turning disaffected youths into ticking time bombs. On this particular day, amidst the usual stream of propaganda, Vandenberg finds something that makes his blood run cold. A user has posted a disturbing image, a black Islamic State flag pinned to a wall. Arranged beneath it, with ritualistic precision, are 2 firearms and a knife. They are laid out like a promise, a vow of violence. The caption, written in Arabic, reads, "Armed and ready April 3rd. Below it is a call to arms, urging extremists to unite and attack Speaker's Corner in London's Hyde Park, a historic site of free speech where a pro-LGBT speaker is scheduled to appear that coming Sunday." Vandenberg stares at the screen. In the world of online extremism, there is a lot of noise, empty threats and bravado. But this is specific, this is a plan. And the attack is only 48 hours away. He immediately alerts British police. The response is swift. Within 24 hours, cyber investigators trace the digital footprint of the messages back to a residential address in North London. The person behind the screen is not a hardened veteran fighter returning from a war zone. He is an 18-year-old student, living with his mother and younger brothers. His name is Sudesh Amman. When police raid the home, the physical evidence is alarming enough to justify their fears. They find bomb-making manuals, guides on knife fighting, instructions for close-quarters combat, an airgun, and a combat knife. But while the physical weapons are dangerous, it is the digital evidence that truly reveals the depth of Sudesh Amman's dark obsession. Forensic analysts recover over 349,000 media files from his devices. To put that into perspective, this is not just casual interest, it is a total immersion in death. The files include beheading videos, execution footage, and high-definition propaganda celebrating mass murder. Perhaps most chilling is how a man tried to export this violence into his personal life. He was not hiding this from his loved ones. He was trying to infect them. Police discover that he had been sharing these gruesome videos in a family group chat, attempting to radicalize his own younger siblings, boys who should have been worrying about homework, not holy war. He had sent beheading clips to his girlfriend, urging her to kill her own parents for the crime of being non-believers. And then, there was the notebook. Buried among his possessions, police find a handwritten list titled Life Goals. It is a window into a broken mind. At the very top, written above family, above career, above life itself, was a single, terrifying objective. Die as a martyr. December 2018. The Old Bailey, London's Central Criminal Court. The air is heavy with the gravity of the charges as Sudesh Amman stands in the dock. He has pleaded guilty to 13 counts, 6 of possessing terrorist documents, and 7 of disseminating terrorist publications. Judge Mark Lucraft looks down at this young man, a teenager who seems to have traded his future for a death wish, and delivers the sentence, 3 years and 4 months. 40 months in total. For many in the courtroom, the sentence feels light, given the sheer volume of hate found on his hard drive. But it is Amman's reaction that truly unsettles the room. As the judge finishes speaking, Amman does not hang his head in shame. He does not look at his weeping mother. Instead, he turns to the public gallery, smiles, and waves. It is not a wave of goodbye. It is a wave of victory. No remorse, no reflection, just pure, terrifying satisfaction. Amman is sent to HMP Belmarsh, one of Britain's most secure prisons, often dubbed the Guantanamo of Britain. It is a place designed to isolate dangerous men, to contain them, and theoretically, to reform them. But for Sudesh Amman, Belmarsh becomes something else entirely, a university of terror. Behind those high walls, Amman does not find isolation. He finds a community. He connects with other convicted terrorists, men who reinforce his hatred and validate his ideology. Prison officers watch in growing alarm. Amman does not keep his head down. He openly discusses his contempt for non-believers and his admiration for ISIS. He tells other inmates he wants to kill the Queen. He expresses deep regret not for his crimes, but that he was not involved in the brutal 2013 murder of Lee Rigby, the British soldier hacked to death on a London street. In the privacy of his cell, he watches lectures from an extremist preacher on a smuggled USB stick, the very same preacher who inspired another terrorist we will mention shortly. Prison staff send urgent reports to the Metropolitan Police. The warning is stark: this man is dangerous. He is not reformed. He will attack when released. They practically beg the prison governor to extend his sentence. But here is the problem, the tragic flaw in the system that no amount of begging could fix. Under British law at the time, prisoners convicted of certain terror offences were automatically released at the halfway point of their sentence. There was no parole board to plead with, no risk assessment to fail. The law was a mathematical formula: serve 50%, walk free. It did not matter if you were still pledging allegiance to ISIS in your sleep. And for Sudesh Amman, that release date was fast approaching. But to understand the sheer panic this caused within the intelligence community, you have to understand the context of the time. Just 10 weeks before Amman was due to walk out of prison, another convicted terrorist, released early under this exact same law, shattered the nation's sense of safety. On November 29, 2019, Usman Khan, a man previously convicted of plotting to bomb the London Stock Exchange, attended a prisoner rehabilitation event at Fishmongers Hall near London Bridge. Khan was the poster child for the system supposedly reformed, supposedly safe. But during a break, he strapped on a fake suicide vest and armed himself with 2 knives. He murdered Jack Merritt and Saskia Jones, 2 young graduates dedicated to helping offenders. Khan was shot dead by police, but the damage was done. 2 innocent people were dead because the system assumed a tick-box release date meant a man was safe. Now, barely 2 months later, the calendar is turning toward January 2020. The police look at the schedule and see Sudesh Amman's name. He is being released under the exact same rules that freed Usman Khan. They know he is arguably more volatile. They know he wants to die. And they know there is absolutely nothing legal they can do to keep him inside. January 23, 2020. Sudesh Amman completes exactly half of his 40-month sentence. The law is rigid. He must be released. There is no legal mechanism to keep him behind bars. No matter how loudly the intelligence reports scream danger. At just 20 years old, he walks out of HMP Belmarsh a free man. But free is a relative term. From the second Amman steps through the heavy prison gates, he enters a different kind of confinement. The Metropolitan Police have authorized a massive covert surveillance operation. He is required to live in a bail hostel in Streatham, South London. He is fitted with a GPS tracking tag that monitors his location to the meter. He has a curfew. On paper, it looks like control. In reality, police know it is merely a countdown. For the first 7 days, the operation is almost excruciatingly dull. Amman keeps a low profile. He stays in the hostel, attends his probation meetings, and follows the rules. He seems compliant, ordinary, almost boring. The unarmed surveillance officers, known in the trade as eyeballs, trail him at a distance, logging every mundane move. But on January 31st, 8 days after his release, the pattern breaks. That morning, Amman leaves the bail hostel and boards a bus to Streatham High Road. The surveillance team follows, blending into the morning commute. He steps off and enters a Screwfix store. Inside, he wanders the aisles, scanning shelves, lingering over tools but buying nothing. He is casing the joint, testing the waters. Next stop, Poundland. This time, the eyeballs watch as he approaches the checkout. He buys 4 bottles of IRN Brew, the bright orange Scottish soft drink, a roll of tinfoil, and a roll of heavy-duty brown parcel tape. To a casual observer standing in line behind him, it looks like a random assortment of junk. Maybe he is thirsty. Maybe he is wrapping a package. But back at Scotland Yard, where senior officers are reviewing the real-time feed, alarm bells are not just ringing, they are screaming. The pattern is instantly recognizable to counter-terror experts. The bottles, the foil, the tape, these are the classic components for a fake suicide vest. He is not planning to blow anything up. He is planning to create the illusion of a bomb to ensure police have to shoot him. It is a suicide note written in purchases. His final stop that day is a discount shop that sells kitchen supplies. Amman stands before the knife display, his eyes fixed on the blades, calculating. He does not buy anything, but the way he studies the knives sends a chill through the surveillance team. He is window shopping for a murder weapon. An emergency meeting is called immediately, involving MI5 and the Met's Counter-Terrorism Command. The question on the table is agonizing: do we arrest him now? Logic suggests yes. But the law says no. Technically, Amman has not committed a crime. Buying soft drinks and tape is not illegal. Looking at knives is not illegal. If they arrest him now, he will be released within hours, and worse, he will know he is being watched, blowing the entire surveillance operation. They are trapped in a legal grey zone. They make a critical, high-stakes decision. The unarmed surveillance officers are pulled back. In their place, 2 elite units are deployed. MI5's mobile surveillance teams, and the Met's MO19, the armed counter-terrorism specialist firearms officers. These are not beat cops. They are the trigger teams. The best of the best. From that moment on, Sudesh Amman is under 24-hour armed watch. Police label him one of the most dangerous individuals they have ever investigated. They believe an attack is not a matter of if, it is a matter of when. For 2 days, the GPS tag shows Amman staying inside his locked room at the hostel. The armed teams wait outside, unseen. Inside, Amman is working. He is drinking the IRN brew, emptying the bottles, wrapping them in foil, and taping them together. He is building his ticket to the afterlife. February 2nd, 2021, 30 p.m, inside the small room at the Bail Hostel in Streatham, Sudesh Amman prepares for his final act. He straps the homemade device tightly across his chest. 4 empty IRN brew bottles, wrapped in tin foil and bound together with layers of brown parcel tape. To the naked eye, up close, it looks like trash. But Amman knows that from a distance, in the chaos and panic of an attack, it will look real enough to force a split-second decision. He pulls a long coat over the bulky shape, checks his reflection in the mirror one last time, and walks out the door. On his way out, he stops to chat with a staff member at the hostel reception. He is casual, polite, even friendly. He gives absolutely no indication that beneath his coat lies a death wish. Outside, the engine of a motorcycle hums quietly. An armed surveillance officer, disguised as a courier, watches the hostel entrance through the visor of his helmet. The moment Amman steps onto the pavement, the officer keys his radio, target mobile. Heading south, Amman begins the walk towards Streatham High Road. It is a bustling Sunday afternoon. The street is a mosaic of life, families doing their weekly shopping. Couples holding hands, people squinting in the low winter sun. The surveillance officer on the motorcycle maintains visual contact, then peels away as a man nears the busier shopping district, handing off the eyeball to other operatives, moving into position on foot. They are plain-clothed, armed with Glock 17 pistols and carbines hidden under jackets, blending seamlessly into the crowd. They know exactly where he is going. He is heading back to the discount shop, the one with the knives. At 1:58 p.m, Amman walks through the door of the shop. This time, there is no browsing. There is no hesitation. He walks straight to the display he studied 2 days earlier, grabs a 20-centimeter blade and rips it from the packaging. He bursts back out onto the street, breaking into a run. What happens next unfolds in just over 1 minute, but for the people on Streatham High Road, time seems to warp and stretch. Shop staff chase after him, shouting for him to stop. A surveillance officer, trailing slightly behind and not yet aware that Amman has armed himself, sees the commotion. Then, the glint of steel catches the light. The radio channel explodes. Armed suspect, knife seen. Sudesh Amman is now sprinting down the pavement. And he is hunting. Monica Luffner, a 51-year-old nursery school teacher, is cycling home after coffee with friends. She is pedaling along, thinking about her week, completely unaware of the figure rushing up behind her. Amman lunges. The knife plunges into her back. Monica crashes to the ground, confusion turning to agony, as blood begins to spread across her coat. Witnesses later describe Amman's movements as bizarrely theatrical. He is skipping, hopping, almost playful, adrenaline coursing through him as he searches for his next target. He attacks a man in his 40s walking near a hardware store. The knife strikes again. This time, the injuries are catastrophic, life-changing wounds that leave the victim collapsing onto the concrete. Pedestrians scatter in a wave of panic. Shop owners slam their shutters. Parents grab their children and dive into doorways. One witness stands frozen, later recalling, "I thought it was a prank. Then I saw the blood, and I knew it was real." 2 armed surveillance officers are now closing the gap, running at a full sprint, weapons drawn. Amman spins around. He sees them. They are in plain clothes. But their stance, their speed, and their focus tell him everything he needs to know. Police. A flicker of confusion crosses his face. He had no idea they were this close. Followed instantly by realization. This is the moment he wanted. Armed police drop the knife. A man does not drop it. He raises the blade, advancing, ready to fight, forcing their hand. The officers fire. 6 shots crack through the air. Between 2 and 4 bullets strike Amman. He goes down hard on the pavement, the knife clattering away. Shots fired. Suspect down. Suspect down. From the moment Amman grabbed the knife to the moment he hit the ground, 62 seconds. But as the officers approach the body, adrenaline pumping, they see it strapped to his chest. Wires. Silver foil. Zarofetsape. A suicide vest. The officers recoil, shouting for the public to get back. The threat has not ended. It has just escalated. The street evacuates. Shops go into immediate lockdown. Residents in the apartments above are ordered to stay away from their windows, turning a bustling neighborhood into a suspended war zone. The Metropolitan Police's bomb disposal unit races to the scene, sirens cutting through the stunned silence of the afternoon. For over an hour, Streatham High Road is frozen in time, a ghost town in the heart of London. Sudesh Amman lies on the pavement, bleeding, dying, while specialists use robots and long-range optics to assess whether the crude device on his chest will detonate and take more lives with him. Finally, after an agonizing wait, the specialists confirm what the surveillance team had suspected but could not be sure of. It is a hoax device. Medics rush forward, but it is too late. At 3:24 p.m., exactly 90 minutes after he was shot, Sudesh Amman is pronounced dead. Meanwhile, Monica Lufner and the other male victim are in emergency surgery, fighting for their lives. The street is still sealed off, evidence markers dotting the blood-stained pavement like grim confetti. And one question begins to echo through the corridors of the Metropolitan Police, through MI5, and all the way to the Home Office. How did a man under 24-hour armed surveillance still manage to carry out a terror attack? In the hours following the attack, the facts begin to emerge, painting a picture that is deeply troubling. Monica Lufner survives, but her life is forever changed. The knife wound to her back causes lasting physical damage and psychological scars that will never fully fade. The man in his 40s suffers life-changing injuries, though emergency surgery saves him. A third person, injured by flying glass when police opened fire, is treated and released. The next day, ISIS claims responsibility, calling Amman a fighter of the Islamic State. But the public outcry is immediate and furious. How could this happen if police knew he was dangerous? If they were literally watching him by the tape, why was he on the streets? The answer lies in the rigidity of the law. Under the system in place, MI5 had to be released at the halfway point. There was no override. No common sense clause. The police could not arrest him for buying legal items. They had to wait for him to commit a crime. And by the time the crime was committed, people were already bleeding. The government's response is blistering. 9 days after the attack, emergency legislation is introduced, the Terrorist Offenders Restriction of Early Release Act 2020. It passes through the House of Commons in a single day, every stage, every reading, pushed through with unprecedented speed. On February 26th, it receives royal assent. Immediately, 50 convicted terrorists who were due for automatic early release are blocked from freedom. 1 year later, the laws are tightened further, ending automatic early release for terrorists entirely. The laws changed because of Usman Khan, because of Sudesh Amman, because of the blood spilled on London Bridge and Streatham High Road. But it should not have taken that blood to rewrite the rules. We know Sudesh Amman was born in Coventry, the oldest of 6 boys. We know he witnessed trauma in Sri Lanka as a teenager. We know he wanted to be a biomedical scientist before he found an ideology that twisted him into something unrecognizable. It is easy to paint him simply as a monster, and his actions were monstrous. But he was also a product of a system that could not stop him until it was too late. The Streatham attack was preventable in theory, but inevitable in practice under the old laws. 62 seconds. That is all it took for Sudesh Amman to achieve his life's goal, martyrdom. And 2 innocent people nearly died because of it. If this investigation made you think, if it made you question how we handle terrorism, radicalization and public safety, then do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification bell. We are going to keep diving deep into the cases that demand answers, the systems that failed, and the lessons we should have learned. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this story, because the more we understand how these failures happen, the harder it becomes to let them happen again. The question remains, Have we learned enough to prevent the next 62 seconds?